Hey, I'm Luke Bartolf. I am working here currently with Kim at the youth program. I'm an intern here. I'm a sophomore at PBA, and I'm originally from here. I was born in Palm Beach Gardens, just down the road in Burns Road, and I was baptized here by Lucky and Ron when I was a baby, but when I was 4, my parents decided to move to Colorado, and that's where I've been ever since I came to PBA. And when I moved to Colorado, I just kind of was like going along. I loved Colorado. I love everything. Growing up in the church, going to church with my family, with friends, but I didn't really know what it meant to go to church. I didn't really know what it meant to be a Christ follower. I didn't know what it meant to Jesus to call you to be a disciple. And I think it really took somebody coming into my life who could really describe that to me. And when I was in 7th grade, a friend of mine invited me to the youth group at my church back home. Plum Creek Church is what it's called. And I met my youth leader, Dylan. Dylan at the time was 19. I was 12 or 13. And I'm 19 now. So when I met Dylan, he was a college student. He was a football player at college. He was just kind of like helping out because he's always been in the church. He went there his whole life. So he kind of took me under his wing when I was in 7th grade, and I grew up with him. And in freshman year, I went to a mission camp in New Mexico with my youth group, where I was part of the youth group, but I wasn't like diving in. I wasn't involved. I wasn't doing anything there. And while I was there, Dylan just kind of like threw a conviction at us. He was just like, what do you guys struggle with? What is some problems that are in your life? And I opened up about some of the problems that I had very reluctantly because I was worried that I would be the only one who's struggling with these problems. And when I came out with the problems that I was dealing with, I realized that my entire small group of 4 other guys who were like my closest friends were all struggling with the exact same thing. And so was my youth leader, in fact. And when that kind of came out, we were all like, wow, we're all in this together. We're all going through this problem together. And we need to be here for each other as brothers in Christ. And one night we were in a small group before the service, and we just sat in a circle and prayed for 4 hours. We missed the entire service. Our youth pastor was like, where are you guys? And we're like, we're just praying. We're crying and praying in a circle, and we're just all coming closer to God and coming closer as friends right now. And I think that was really the moment that hit me wow, this is a problem, and the way I'm living is not right. And I need to figure out how to live for Christ in everything that I do. So after camp, I went home and I tried to put these things into my life. I tried to use what God was telling me in my everyday life and just live for Him. And it didn't exactly go as planned at first. I kind of went back and fell back on the things that I was struggling with, and it wasn't going as planned. And I didn't really know what to do about that because I was told that if I prayed and I repented for what was happening, that it would go away and it would be fixed. And I didn't really understand it at the time. I was only a freshman in high school, and I was just still figuring things out. So I kept going along, and then my junior year, before going into junior year summer, I went on a mission trip to England with my church, with my youth group, with 10 of my closest friends, actually. I kind of just went on the trip to be with my friends in England, to be honest. But I was really nervous because I didn't have much Bible knowledge. I didn't know how to talk to people about God. I did not know how to spread the word of God. And I was telling my youth leader, his name's Dylan, and I was just like, Dylan, I don't think I have the confidence or the knowledge to do this. And he's like, I believe in you, bro. I believe in you. You can do this. And one day he was like, hey, you want to speak about your church being your family in front of this class of high school seniors? And I'm a junior. And I'm like, well, that's not the first thing I would like to do. But I went up. He was like, you can do it. You can do it. I was very nervous. And I went up and I just spoke about how since I don't have siblings or anything, I'm an only child, the church is just kind of more brothers and sisters for me that I've met, going to church, going to youth group. All my closest friends are from church. And I told that story to the kids, and they were listening intently. And afterwards, I was like, wow, I just did that. God gave me the power and the capability to do that. So it just gave me so much confidence that God actually was there for me in that time. And I continued to go through England and continued to tell my story. I told my testimony for the first time in England, and it just really amplified my relationship with God. And I think I went on that trip to bring others closer to God, but it really brought me closer to God in the end. And I think that's what is a good sign of a good mission trip for that. So after England, I came back home, and I went up to Dylan one Sunday night at youth group, and I was like, hey, I've actually never accepted Christ. I've never made the decision just myself and say, yeah, I accept you, Jesus. So he was like, let's do it now, right after youth group. So we went up and we prayed together, and I accepted Christ for the first time on my own decision right there my junior year. And I got baptized 2 weeks later again for the second time because it was my decision this time. I wanted to get baptized. Dylan baptized me. And I think that was just the moment in my life where I was like, all right, next gear. I'm going to live everything for God. I'm going to do everything I can. I became a leader in my church. I started leading the 7th graders, just like Dylan did for me when I was in 7th grade. And he made the impact on me that I wanted to make an impact on the kids behind me. It's sort of like a chain. When we all make impacts on each other, we continue to do that, and it's just building up the next generation. And I wanted to be a part of that. So I volunteered for the 6 is what we called it, which was all the 6th graders, because they didn't really have a spot to go in our church. They were in between middle school and elementary school. So we made a thing just for them, and Dylan was put in charge of it. And because at this point, Dylan was no longer playing football because of injuries, and he turned to becoming a youth pastor himself. So Dylan and I and 2 of my other friends kind of started up the 6 together, and we just led these 6th graders who, they don't exactly follow some of the stuff you say, so you have to be very intentional about your words and very intentional towards them. And I think that's what we did, and we had a great time. And the 6 ended after 1 year, and then I went up with them to 7th grade, and I followed those kids to middle school, and then I followed them to 8th grade until I left for college, where they were going into high school and I was leaving for college, and I was their leader for 3 years. I got close to those kids just like I got close to Dylan, and I hopefully made an impact on their lives just like he made an impact on mine. And I think that was a very important time for me because it was also building my relationship in God and building the way that I talk to others and build other people up instead of bringing people down. Because one of the things I used to struggle with was sometimes being arrogant and being cocky in ways to where it wasn't coming across as a loving, like I wasn't living like Jesus. I wasn't loving like Jesus. And being a leader for those 7th grade boys made me realize that I had to put myself aside at some points and just live through God. So after I realized that I needed to start living in a certain way, I actually have this verse on my cross here, and it's Matthew 16:24-25, and it says, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their lives will lose it, but whoever loses their life from me will find it.'" So I started living by this verse every day and just denying myself and remembering that I'm not the most important thing here, that God is the most important thing. And I need to live my life every day honoring him. And I really think that that's when it kicked in for me. And I just continued to help out, and I just continued to love helping out. I loved going to church every day. I was at the church 30 hours a week before I came to college here. And so then time goes by and I leave for college and at Palm Beach Atlantic here. And I wasn't exactly ecstatic because I loved my life back home in Colorado. I was having a great time and I loved high school, unlike some people. And I just think, I was like, I'm leaving my friends, I'm leaving my church, I'm leaving Dylan, and I'm just worried about what the next chapter of my life has in store. And I got here, and the first semester for me last year was very difficult. I did not have a good year, I did not make as many friends as I was hoping, and it just was tough for me. And meanwhile, all this Kim Sanders is reaching out to me and saying, I have a job here for you at the church, I have a job here for you at the church. And I'm like, I'm not exactly ready, I'm not in a good place right now, I need some time to adjust to college. And I ended up taking the job the first day of the second semester, and I just loved it from the beginning. I love being here at the youth program, helping out with the kids, and I really think that just brought me back again, because it was just another reason to live for God every day instead of just sitting in my dorm room and doing nothing. I actually had a purpose to go out every day and make an impact in others' lives. I wasn't just sitting around wasting time. And I really think that that's what turned me around for this last time, because now I'm here as a sophomore, just in the first week of college, and I'm back here loving my job. I went to a Drive Shack with some of my boys last night, and we were just having a good time and glorifying God while we do it. And I just love where my life is headed. And to put this in perspective, 4 years ago, I wanted to be a lawyer, which is not what I want to be anymore, let's say that. I'm now actually a finance major, but I would love to, since I've been working in the church for so long now, I want to work in the church. And it's made me realize just like that I just love being around the church and I want to be there my whole life. Whether it be working in the finance department at a church, whether it be a youth pastor after I've done something else, whether it just be being a youth pastor from the beginning, I don't know what God has in store for me. But at this point in my life, I'm just willing to give it up to Him and let Him control it. And I'll see where He takes it. And I'm very excited to see what my future has in store for me. And I can't wait to continue to glorify God. Thank you.